Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new Undercover Case special live from NorthEast Comic Con. I am your host, Al Mega, and I'm tuning with, first, all the way to my right, the host of No Prize Podcast, Mr. Bud Young. And to my left, the CEO of Critics, Mr. Keith Napier, a.k.a. Clep. And, of course, the guest of honor today, one of the most, how is it? He drew the most Spider-Man covers ever in Marvel. He's a hell of an independent creator. He actually has a new kids book out right now, which is really on fire. I'm talking about none other than a very good friend and multi-talented man, Mr. Joe St. Pierre.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be back on with you guys.
Yeah, man, Joe, thank you for taking the time, to step away from your
Cue the
table.
applause soundtrack.
We'll do that.
You'd have Josh work that in later. Josh, cue applause.
So, Joe, I've been watching you on social media lately, and I know you have a lot of great stuff coming out, though. I mean, you've been promoting good for something I've been seeing you do lately. So, with that, one of the first things I've noticed, obviously, is that you've landed a gig doing some DC covers, or what's that all about?
I did a DC cover for Green Lantern #5, and that's about it.
Does it open the door for more opportunity, possibly?
I don't know. We'd have to ask DC, but I am going to kind of put the feelers out to the various DC editors just to see if there's something there.
Is there anything within the DC line, like Green Lantern, anything that you would like to kind of get your hands on, if you will?
There's a lot of DC gems out there. As I probably mentioned on this show before, I'm a huge Hawkman fan, so anything with Hawkman in it I would have a look at. Green Lantern's a fun character. Batman, how about Batman? Why not go for the top, right?
I wonder what a Joe St. Pierre Batman would look like.
Oh, me too. Let's find out.
We didn't hear that. We need to get Joe on a Hawkman cover before they cancel that book.
I haven't read it.
Wait,
Is it that
Liefeld's
bad?
not writing it, is it? From what I understand, I think it's Matt Kent. Is it? He's writing it? Or one of those gentlemen? Or Venditti?
Brian Hitchart.
Oh, Hitchart, yeah, it's Venditti writing it right now, I believe.
Okay.
But he's going to be apparently rap after issue 12 or some. Poor Hawkman. He never survives, does he? It's just like his relationship with Kira.
Oh, good. I like that.
All right.
So, Joe, let me ask you a question. So, going back to the DC cover that you did, given your knowledge of the industry, the say sales figures on a variant cover, something like that. Now that gets more buzz and the prices go up as it gets more collectible. That could possibly lead to more work for you, right? That's as far as...
You mean if there's a buzz on the specific cover, or
Right.
if the marketplace says that my cover is worth more than another cover?
No, buzz on the look of the book. I mean, I know that everybody that I've seen has said that Green Lantern variant cover just pops off the shelf, and it's everything that everybody's looking for and kind of like a cover.
Right, well, I mean, ever since I started in the industry, I've been very mindful of the necessity for good cover design, the way something appears on the shelf, especially nowadays with there's so much competition, is maybe you might have like 400 books on a comic book store shelf, right? So you're walking by, if you're a browser and not a subscriber, you're just kind of passing by. So I recognize the importance to kind of grab the casual passerby by the shirt and kind of pull them into it. So ever since I was at Marvel or Valiant, I was very conscious of cover design. The work I did on New Zodiacs, the covers were specifically, the main covers were specifically designed for eye-catching appeal. Like if you saw the first issue of New Zodiacs on the shelf, you couldn't miss it. Because it was like this guy reaching out at you, and it looked fantastic on the shelf. So, with the Green Lantern project, it was the same thing. It was like, the assignment was, I don't have to follow what's inside the story, because I don't think we knew at the time. Just do an iconic shot of Hal. So I was like, okay, cool. So this was a no logo variant, so I could take up the whole the whole image area. There's no logo on it, so nice. I was like, all right, let's fill the space with Hal Jordan Green Lantern, and then put something that kind of represented him, the kind of cosmic aspect, kind of address that in the background. So that was the idea, and I've seen it on the shelves in stores. It looks great.
So, Joe,
I have to say.
Joe, I got a question. So what is, well, I mean, without giving away your secret formula, what is the formula for that? What do you bring to the table to put that kind of imagery out there that kind of like grabs someone?
Yeah, I don't think that's a great question, actually. I don't think there's like a formula, do this, then that equals this. I think that, it's a combination of character with the concept. I think it kind of all comes together, That's another thing I'll do. Very often, just for cover ideas, I'll do like maybe 15 or 20 ideas, just little kind of thumbnail things, just to see if anything kind of pops for me. So, aside from the, try to do something that's in your face or looks like it's reaching out to you for superhero work, I think that kind of works.
So, see, with that, was there any particular cover artist that stood out to you where you kind of drew some, maybe, creativity from? Inspiration, if you will.
Not in the instance of the Green Lantern, but yeah, I'm pretty inspired by a lot of people now, especially nowadays. Jack Kirby was a huge inspiration. I always thought Romita Sr. Was outstanding cover designer. Gil Kane was great. Frank Miller is an awesome cover designer. He was doing a lot of covers early in his career when he was on Daredevil.
Yeah.
Suddenly Daredevil gets popular, and then lo and behold, Frank Miller's doing layouts on Daredevil, and now he's doing all these covers. Like I remember Spider-Woman covers and Captain America covers. Like suddenly Frank Miller is like the cover guy. So Miller's got a great sense of design. He's deep in my DNA as far as storytelling, that kind of stuff.
Okay, great. So talking about storytelling, you've actually taken on a different monster lately. Mm-hmm. You did a kid's book.
Yeah, yep.
Well, tell us a little bit about that, man, the title of the book and where that came from.
Well, the main thing that disturbs me is how few children I see in comic stores or at conventions that are reading comics. I mean, it's a friggin' problem. It is. So there's kind of another whole industry that's kind of ignoring, the mainstream comic book store DC Marvel model, and that's graphic novels. If you walk in a Barnes & Noble nowadays, they have a graphic novel section, and there's stuff that outsells Batman, it outsells, Spider-Man comics, and it has nothing to do with superheroes. It's all kind of young adult-based stuff. So I thought I'd try to tap that, because, I love comics. And I want people to read comics and love them as much as I do. That's my thing.
Okay.
So the reason why I took the Cousteau job, it's called the Fabienne Cousteau Adventures. The first volume is called The Great White Shark Adventure. So it's a 4-book series. The first one just came out on the 5th, and so I want to bring younger readers into the comic book.
And he related to Jacques?
Yes, his grandson.
Oh, that's Jacques Cousteau's grandson.
Yes,
wow.
Jacques Cousteau's grandson is carrying on the tradition. He's an advocate for the environment and a deep sea explorer.
Awesome.
I just met him last weekend. He was a fantastic guy. Very cool. And the book is great, and what's cool for me is I get to learn while I'm drawing. So you read the script and you find out about, sharks are like, everyone says, I can't tell you how many people at this show are like, Jaws, man-eaters. Sharks are not man-eaters. They eat like once a month. They don't like humans because they're too lean. They eat blubbery animals like seals and things like that. So while...
I'm in trouble.
Yeah. Not only am I doing what I love to do, but I'm also learning at the same time. It's a great job, so I can't complain.
So now you no longer have a fear of sharks, I'm guessing.
No, I'm not. Well, I'm more afraid of the water and drowning than I am of getting eaten in the water.
You and me both. I can't swim.
Yeah.
We take swimming lessons together.
Let's do that, please. Yeah.
Mega drowns at the hands of Pierre. News of 11.
I'm a rough swimmer.
So, all right. So earlier you mentioned about the new Zodiacs, and everybody's waiting for the next and greatest volume of new Zodiacs. When is that coming? What's going on? We're waiting.
It's in progress, but it's not on the schedule. That's the Cousteau series is kind of my, my day job
Okay.
at the moment. And so when I have spare time, I do kind of add to like a piece of clay onto a sculpture. I'll wake up with a story idea or something like that. But so far, I mean, as far as like the mission, I'm probably going to do a second volume rather than go to single issues.
Okay.
I'm probably going to do a graphic novel. That's still the same. And I'm still planning to add 2 new members of the Zodiacs to the team. And I'm just going to do the first crossover is going to happen in the next volume. So those are still targets that I'm shooting at. And David Michelini wrote a story for Cricket, who's the new Pisces.
Ooh, he did?
Yes. So I'm going to illustrate that. That's an 8-pager. And that's where the book is at this moment.
All right, so you said something earlier about graphic novels, right? And the word graphic novel. For example, Umbrella Academy just came out, right? And when you look at the credits, it doesn't say based on the comics from Dark Horse. It says based on the graphic novel. But it started off Lifeform as a comic. Do you think that there's just a problem or some type of, I don't know, ill will towards the word comics that people won't take seriously as opposed to the word graphic novel? Right?
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Oh, that's a loaded question. I love it. Short answer is yes. I think the mainstream planet, or let's put it this way, the mainstream U.S. Doesn't respect comic books. Even the term. I think it's associated with something that's
There's a stigma to it or
low
something?
quality or something. I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't have that problem. A lot of people will use the term graphic novel, I find, if they don't have a lot of experience in comics like we do. They'll use the graphic novel term to explain a million
Anything
different
and
things.
everything.
Yes, you'd be holding a comic book and they'll say, oh, that's a graphic novel. Or you'll have a long-form graphic novel, which is essentially a collection of 6 issues, and they're not, the 6 issues may not be related, but they call that a graphic novel too, So I think before the discussion kind of continues, we all have to be talking about the same thing when you say graphic novels. So I haven't read Umbrella Academy,
Okay.
so I don't know. I imagine it's...
Okay, I'll give you another example. Deadly Class, the Remender from Image. I don't know, if you just watch the TV show, just look at the end credits. None of them say based on comics by. It'll always say based on graphic novel by.
I think they might be relating to the tone. I think Yeah, I think now it's become like a genre. Like if it has
Its own genre, but
if it has a certain kind of tone to it, then they look at it as a graphic novel.
how do you feel about that, Bud?
I'll go even further. The Arrowverse TV shows now say based on characters created by DC. They don't say DC Comics anymore.
Just DC. So it's the word comics is being.
I think they're phasing it out. Yeah.
Well, even the term comics used to refer to gag strips, right?
Yeah.
That were meant to be funny. They had jokes in them and you laughed when you were finished. And there's not much of that in the comic shops nowadays, right? So even the term comic book it has been itself distorted over 100 years, right?
Okay.
So I don't really care what you call it personally. I call it comic books.
Yep.
I call a collection of comic books a graphic novel. I don't really care what anybody else calls the stuff, but as long as they're reading it
Yeah.
and not slapping
So long as
it
it gets some readers in.
it's gotta-
What happens
Yeah, exactly.
recently?
It's pictures with words that tell a story. That could be four panels. That could be 28 pages. That could be 400 pages. Do you ever read From Hell?
No,
By Alan Moore?
that's a thick book.
It's a speculative history of who Jack the Ripper was. Dense with history and historical references. that's a graphic novel.
Yeah, that definitely
But
is.
they
That
released,
qualifies.
they originally released From Hell as single issues, and I couldn't read it. I was like, oh.
It's like a
I-
Watchmen. You have to read that one and done as opposed to
Well-
single. On a monthly basis, you can't keep a Watchmen up.
I'll push back on you there because my first issue of Watchmen was 4, was number 4.
And you
The
got hooked.
origin, it was self-contained origin of Dr. Manhattan. I was like, what is this? I need more. So I could say maybe there are certain issues of
Certain issues within
Watchmen
it,
that,
right.
where that doesn't apply, but in my case, it discounts your idea. But of course, read 1 to 12 and you get more out of it without.
Absolutely.
They're meant to go together in sequence. Knock the bottom out of all 12 issues, whether they're singles or one package. Totally. Totally.
Is there anything in comics right now that you think is missing that we need? I mean,
We
there's a
need
lot of
younger readers, and we need a wider audience.
All right, DC Zoom,
The
DC
end.
Ink. Did you hear about that? DC Zoom,
solved.
DC Ink.
I don't know what that is.
Okay, so basically DC is going to be experimenting this fall with basically teen books and kid books. So Zoom, I believe, is the kids line. Ink is more for like the 13 and above, a little bit more mature. But they're really going to really experiment and bring in, a younger audience to read. They started off with characters like Green Lantern, Super Sons, Mera, for example.
Are they graphic novels?
And actually, no, they're going to be some of them are one and done, one shots. Some look to be prestige format. Some seem to be digest format.
Yeah.
But they're trying to experiment, I think. So you think that, based on what you're saying, is that the correct avenue?
If I were DC or Marvel and I had, Disney or Warner Brothers Capital to spare, and I was a comic book fan like I am, I'd be throwing that stuff out in as many forms as possible.
And I think Marvel's doing that too with the whole Marvel Rising thing.
The Marvel Rising, yes. Yeah, that's the young new team. A lot of diversity there. It's kind of
artwork is
reflecting our
different.
modern world, yeah.
Artwork is different. It's a lot more childish.
Are you familiar with Marvel Rising? Kind of introduces America Chavez, right?
All the female
Squirrel
superheroes.
Girl.
Yeah, Squirrel Girl, Spider-Gwen.
Yeah. Well, introduces in the team.
We need a wider audience, we need a younger audience, we need an older audience, we need a larger audience. These movies are being made and millions of people are spending billions of dollars to see these movies that are based on comic books. And there's no cheaper way, I think, to connect with an audience than to publish a 32-page magazine.
I thought, so as far as aiming at younger readers or trying to broaden the fan base a little bit, we had, I think DC was on the right page, getting into Walmart with their 100-page specials.
Yeah, and they're getting
At a
specials already.
specific price point. But, if we're talking about like an Alterna Comics who's out there with newsprint, trying to get it into retail stores, that's the way I think we need to go back to.
Yeah.
You're not going to develop a huge new fan base charging $5 a book. It needs to be a price point where you can bring in new people.
Yeah, and you need to be in an area where people, like us with the covers, where a casual passerby is going to look at something and be kind of impelled or what's the word I'm looking for? Just kind of like impulse, like an impulse buy. You need to be in a place where the maximum amount of people will pass by this item so you can get some of that.
So you find that being a positive then for the whole industry as a whole, where now they're stepping outside of LCSs and going beyond that distribution model and hitting the big, chain stores. They're trying to get back into newsstands and whatnot. So you think it's good, a good direction to head to now,
I think LCS has really killed
the industry?
the industry as far as developing new fan bases. Because when you have an LCS, you're specifically going into an LCS to buy a comic book. You want to go into a place that sells other things other than comics. Maybe like a Newberry Comics that sells a bunch of different memorabilia, records, movies, and then sells comics also. That's kind of going to be the business model going forward, because no one's going to get rich off of publishing comics. It's just not going to happen.
I'm going to jump into a crazy thing here because I had a conversation with someone the other day about speculation. Do you think speculation hurts collectors and the industry as a whole? I mean, for
Talking to the guy that just put out a variant comic book.
I had this person that just told me they wouldn't charge more than $50 for any book in their shop, regardless of what it is, right? But you think it's viable? You think that's even possible to not do that? I mean, because everything has its value. Everybody puts its value on something, but
Yeah, again, I admire the experiment, but whatever it takes to get people to pick up the book, whether it's an image by me or an image by Liam Sharp, or if it's an image by Stephanie Buscema or somebody, whatever it takes to get people to
pick it up.
purchase the book. I'm a fan in that kind of experimentation. You can't deny that there's a market for variants out
absolutely,
there.
absolutely.
But in the long run, my goal is to get people to buy comics. And if they're buying the variants because they have to have every version of the same book, it just has a different cover, I don't think that's a healthy line to hang your business strategy on.
Because I
Does
know
that
with
make sense?
DC Detective, right? It's going to do what, 27? I believe we
27
discussed, or 37
variants.
different variants on it at a price point of $9.99, I believe.
Okay.
23, 33, around there.
I totally agree with that person you were talking to. He's talking about me.
Yeah, he mentioned. He's
really?
going to have a future
You're the
shop.
one who said it?
So
He's going to have a future shop.
here's my thing. Variants are already overpriced as it is. You go in and they're a little bit more than the regular cover anyways at most times, but I go into certain stores and it just gets under my skin when I go in a store and I look behind the counter and there's like 200 books. And it's like, as an adult, we understand. And like you said, to pull in the younger reader, and they come in and all they know is Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Captain America, and they go in a comic book store and they're like, I want this book, and it's sitting behind the counter for $200. And they would much rather hold on to that book than give it to that kid whose eyes are big and bright, and all he cares about is a Captain America comic book. And he's got to go settle for whatever's in the bucket that you left there, because, you know what I mean? Like, that bothers me.
He hates
right?
to see vendors that leave books stagnated on the wall, where he goes month after month and it's still there.
And it's like, you haven't sold it. I've been in your store every day for the whole month, and that book has been sitting there since you opened.
He's been harassing the owner too, though, every day for that month.
And it's like,
I'm trying to get him to lower his price so you can buy it, right?
Like,
Sell it for
at the end of the day-
200.
At the end of the day, collectors are collectors, and they're not trying to resell. Collectors are collectors,
It's two different markets.
Yeah.
you know, so.
One guy is a collector who's got money, the other is a kid who's looking for impulse, 20 minutes of impulse
Yeah,
entertainment.
you know, so I kind of, that bothers me a little. So we had a lengthy conversation about upselling and how, I mean, yeah, it's cool when you get that one book sold, but when you got 500 books in behind the counter sitting there all year, where's the benefit?
Yeah. I know 13 and I spoken about that at several shops that we visited where stuff just stays on the wall. And he's asked for it, and he leaves it there until the point comes when the guy says, okay, I'll leave it to you for half price.
Now, you don't get it till they do the little weekend sale.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I wait.
Yeah.
I'm cheap, boy. Forget about that. I learned from Joe. Save.
I'm all with you, Joe, about bringing in the younger readers, and I think that once we get a handle on that, that would be another way, because some books are just too expensive for kids to even, parents are like, yeah, we're not getting that.
Yeah, but they won't think twice about getting, a PS4 or whatever it is for $400, you know? So you walk into, like, for instance, the Cousteau book that I did, I think it's a perfect package. I had nothing to do with the design, I did the artwork inside. But I think it's the perfect design, because it's kind of digest size. It's like, I don't know, what, 5 by 7
Yeah.
or something like that. It's 100 pages. It's colorful as hell. It's on really, really nice quality paper. It's a hardcover book, and it's $12.99.
Yeah.
And I can go in a comic book shop and get like 100-page special, and that's like $9.99,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, okay, well, this book has you beat price point because there's more entertainment in my book, and
And it
it's
won't take
something-
15 minutes to read either.
Yeah, exactly, and yeah, right, exactly, and so I think the package design has a real important factor in whether something is worth it or not. So I guess a lot of people see comic books and they're like, ooh, flimsy, and they
Floppy,
they
as
don't
they say
think
in
it's
the
worth
UK.
it.
Yeah.
They don't think it's worth it. Yeah, don't say floppy around me, that's like a slur.
Yeah, that's John floppies. You
I
floppies
have
at
a
the
question
mark.
for you, though, like back to like, the whole upselling thing now. Is that, as a creator, is that flattering? Like if you did a book and you saw that all of a sudden it's like, it's worth $1,200, is that like,
How can it not be flattering? That means somebody likes your work, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't need that kind of thing from people, that I don't need adoration. I like to draw comics, and that, as long as I'm doing that, I'm in bliss,
but it becomes harder to find and then most people won't be able to get it. But yeah, it's worth $10,000.
But at the same time, it allows me to produce more stuff, and I can say, I'm the guy who did that thing that you can't find. Here,
Gotcha.
find this.
So do you keep your own variants?
I do have, I have my stuff in stock.
Okay.
So I don't have like, okay, I'm gonna keep these, forever.
No, not forever, just for you to pawn off at a shop.
But
right?
yeah,
you
I
get your
still have
hands-
stock in just
Awesome.
about every one of my comics. I just did the second printing of New Zodiac's graphic novel, which is really a collection of 4 issues, right?
Four
It's
comics.
really an anthology. So we sold out of the first printing, and I did
Wow.
a Kickstarter for the second printing, and I'm almost done with that. I'm
Wow.
almost sold out of that.
Oh, really?
too. So, yeah,
Wow.
I've got like 2 boxes
Is a
left.
third printing coming?
Yeah, well, that's why my brain is starting to shift over, because, do I do a third printing, or do I do the volume 2?
Let's
I'm
do
not sure
volume
what to
2,
do.
please.
So, right, exactly.
We're waiting.
So, now my financial obligations are kind of expanding.
Of course.
By keeping. the
Listen,
first
more
one
work,
print.
that's positive, that's great, that's what I
Yeah,
want to see from you, bro.
I'll take that problem any day of the week.
Absolutely,
I'll take it any
'cause-
day of the week.
Because we love you, brother.
Thank you,
You
buddy.
rock.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Feelings mutual, thank you.
So,
Let's make out now.
I know you got to get back to your
Live
table.
streaming, thank you.
You got to get back to your table, so
Great.
let people know real quick, where can we check out your work again?
You can go to, what's the best place to go? Probably newzodiacs.com. It's probably the best place I'd like you to go. I am on Instagram and Facebook, but not so much anymore now that I'm working on the book series.
He's got a job, no time for
Yeah.
social, no
It's
social.
rough out there. Gotta do a
Awesome.
lot of stuff.
I guess my last question is, you said that the Cousteau books, there's 4-book series?
Yeah, I'm signed for
And you're
4.
working for, you're doing all
On
4?
4, yes. Who knows what happens after that?
Wait, and where can we get that book? Can we get that on your site too, or?
No, you can't get that on my site yet. I've got to work on that. Thanks for reminding me. But you should be able to get it on any bookstore, your local neighborhood store. Better comic book stores that don't just deal with Diamond will have it.
Okay.
I know Harrison's in Salem has it. Let's say, there's a store in New Hampshire called,
They're gonna kill you?
Water Street Books. Water Street
There
Books
you
have
go.
it in New Hampshire. And let's see. Yeah, and just about any Barnes and Noble will probably carry it, I think. And
Nice.
you can usually go to the mail order websites, Amazon and stuff like that.
Can you tell us what the second book is about, or is that a secret?
I think so. Yeah, we're going to go to the Arctic and try to discover a Dumbo octopus.
Oh,
So
A
go to the
Dumbo
North Pole.
octopus.
Yeah.
I've never.
Everybody Google it. Let's go.
Google it.
What does that mean?
Yep.
I'm just thinking of an octopus with big ass ears that flies.
For the cross.
Close. But they're very small, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but they have big ears.
Small with big ears.
Yeah,
Poor guys.
proportionately big ears.
I feel so sorry for them already. Well, Joe, thanks again, man. You rock.
Okay.
Thanks for coming through. You, my one guy over here. Thanks for attending. Wait, before we go, do you have any questions for Joe?
I got
He knows he can come to my table anytime.
What's something that you want that you haven't gotten much of a chance to do, like art-wise, or like want to experiment with more?
Could you give me an example?
Like maybe not necessarily a medium, but like maybe a different like style. Because like with that children's book, that's a very different style from your regular stuff. Is there another like textile or like something you're interested in trying?
I am very interested in, that's a great question. How do I answer that? I'm like of the mind that many people don't agree with this, but I'm of the mind that a comic book is a story that's told in symbols. And many people interpret comics as almost like snapshots of reality. So if like, you see a picture of Spider-Man, and he's in this bizarre pose that no human being can get in, and he's dodging 50 bullets, and you're saying, oh, this is impossible. I would say you're interpreting a drawing as if it was a snapshot. It was an actual pose that happened in reality that a human could get into, and that all these people were shooting at the exact same time. And so I'm of the guy that a comic book is a symbol, that this image is the single image of Spider-Man represents several different poses and several different moments of time where these bullets are being shot, not all at once, but at different moments in time. And so this picture is a symbol of all those moments in time wrapped up into one picture. So with that in mind, I like, for each member of the Zodiacs that I have, there are 12 total, I would like each member of the Zodiacs to kind of have its own visual style. So for instance, the new Pisces character, she's a paranormal investigator. So I kind of based a lot of her, the style or the look of her stories on artists from the 1900s called, his name is Harry Clark. He's an Irish artist. He did a lot of illustrations for Edgar Allan Poe stories and stuff like that. It's very dark, very bleak, lots of black, and very designy, like really kind of flat design kind of thing. And so I see Cricket ideally kind of looking more in that version, but that style doesn't serve for somebody like the Liberator, who's a hacker who exists in cyberspace. So when the Liberator is in cyberspace, it's all very colorful and super bright, and then when he's in reality, he's himself, he's Benjamin F., the human hacker. When he's in real life, the world is very gritty, almost like pencil, either toothbrush spatter or like gritty pencil on rough paper. You know, I'm trying to experiment with that kind of look. So it's a great question, and it's not an easy thing to do, but that's where my brain is kind of set. Does that make sense? That when you look at a picture of Cricket that I have drawn, ideally it looks different than a picture of the Liberator that I've drawn. That you might say this isn't the same guy. And I'm not there yet, but that's kind of where I'm headed. So, good question.
That actually brings up a question of if you're going to have a crossover.
Yeah,
What style do you use?
Right, it's part of the challenge, right? That's like when Gene Colan draws Spider-Man showing up in a Submariner comic. It's like I don't think of Gene Colan as a Spider-Man artist, but he drew Spider-Man in an issue of Submariner that I had. So it's cool to see the styles kind of change. So I look forward to getting to that space. Like, how am I going to draw this guy in this, when we have a crossover? Cool idea.
All right, great. So I look forward to the crossover.
It'll be fun.
And, yeah, I'm looking forward to everything you do, Joe, man.
I can't wait.
Yeah, we can't wait. None of us can wait, coño.
So if you have the secret to not sleeping and growing 4 arms and another head, let me know, because I got a lot of work to do.
Actually, I've been reading about a lot of stuff going on in China. I'll talk to you after.
Okay.
With that, yo, Joe, thank you again for your time. I know you got fans waiting for you at your table. Yo, Bud, Clap, man, my guest over here. Thanks for that wonderful question. I'm Al Mega, Undercover Capes. Check us out. UndercoverCapes.com. Thank you.